Here we are at Clothesline, the show where we scrub them clean, string them up and put them to dry on the clothesline. In the ordinary world, times change. But in the world of television news, Times Now changes the concept of time. All of you who are familiar with TV parlance have heard of prime time. Times Now introduced a new concept, super prime time.
The show India turns to at super prime time. Domination redefined for 6 years.
For our uninitiated TV viewers, prime time the world over is any slot between 8 to 10 p.m. It's called prime time because most people watch television at this time. So dear Arnab, what is super prime time? Is it when prime time is occupied by Superman? Or is it when prime time achieves super ratings, as pointed out very gently by Times Now?
With 166% more viewership than all three of its competitors combined, the News Hour has crushed the competition and broken all viewership records.
Oh dear, more than all three other channels? That must hurt. Also, this happened on super prime time.
Let me welcome live Rajat Sharma, and I'd like to tell our viewers a very respected journalist, editor-in-chief and founder of India TV. Rajat ji, good evening. And this poll which...
Good evening, Arnab, good evening.
Rajat, this is what happens when you piss off Arnab. And this is what happens if you really piss off Arnab. Swift justice and retribution.
अब तुम इस खिलौने का खेल देखो।
Meanwhile, on ordinary prime time, ordinary Rajdeep was doing his ordinary show on the other Superman, who is making super history. Narendra Modi, in his bid to rewrite history, is literally rewriting history.
गुप्त वंश की याद करें तो चंद्रगुप्त की राजनीति हमें प्रेरणा देती है। दीने इलाही का बेबाक बेड़ा ना मन में धिक्का न कुलजाम में धिक्का, वो डूबा दहावे में गंगा के आकर। डॉक्टर श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी विद्वान थे, जहां मुझे श्यामजी कृष्ण वर्मा बोलना था, बीच-बीच में मैं श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी बोल दिया था।
Okay then, the lessons for Modi here are that 1, this is why people refer to cue cards, as long as you don't lose them.
They told me they have no booths. So I've lost it now, 1 second.
And if you don't want to read cue cards, then please read class 10 history textbooks carefully. Otherwise, Rajdeep will start playing school teacher. और राजदीप ने मीनाक्षी लेखी जी की क्लास ले ली.
Meenakshi Lekhi, you can defend that reference. Just a minute, ma'am. He goes to Patna, says Takshila was in Bihar, then says Alexander was defeated by Biharis, then says Nehru didn't attend Patel's funeral, then confuses yesterday Shamaji Krishna Verma for Shama Prasad Mukherjee. That may have been a slip of tongue. I'm willing to concede that. But what about the earlier references?
The only thing is, Meenakshi came across less as a spokesperson and more as a student who's been caught not having done her homework.
First you come to Takshila and Nalanda.
Takshila is in Pakistan, ma'am, not in Bihar.
That's my point, ma'am. That's my point, sir. The point is very simple. When you're referring to Oxford, you refer to Cambridge automatically or vice versa. Now, when you are referring to Nalanda, you refer to Takshila because these were the centers of learning in ancient India, and these two were together.
Wait a minute. Takshashila and Nalanda are the same thing? Just like Oxford and Cambridge are the same thing? I'm sorry. We at Times of India completely disagree, because in all my years as a chemical engineer, I will tell you this, Renuka, that your presence in the AIA DMK is a boon for radio shows like ours. We're playing by Lekhi's rules. Times of India, News Laundry, same thing. Meenakshi, Renuka, same. Get it now?
See, how they are hiding their guilt. And
that is so funny!
Then there are the other slips, like the ones news organizations slip into. Actual news that has nothing to do with anything.
नरेंद्र मोदी अल्पसंख्यकों को रिझाने में लगे हैं. आज वह गुजरात के खेड़ा में मुस्लिम ट्रस्ट के अस्पताल का उद्घाटन करेंगे.
बीमारी एक इंसान को नहीं आती.
Where is our Hindu director? Oh, Satyanji, good. And do we have any Christians in the house? Ranjan, how cool is that? No Muslims? Saqib, that's good. No women? You. Sorry, yes. No Sardar? Oh, why did I ask? Why did I ask? Get out of here. Clear out, all of you. Now, did me mentioning the religion of the crew make any difference to the show? No. It's still terrible. If you must push your Muslim-loving image, try a little subtlety.
और कुछ महीने पहले कांग्रेस पार्टी की लीडरशिप को यहाँ पे खत्म किया गया, आपको याद होगा. Shame, shame.
That was Rahul's firm response to the Maoist attacks in Chhattisgarh, where so many were killed. Rahul Baba, we know you're playing the I am young card, but this is ridiculous. This is not kindergarten. Shame, shame. You might as well have said, oh, puppy shame. On the 9th of November, both the Times of India as well as the Indian Express ran a story about Pratibha Patil denying or confirming V.K. Singh's claim made in his book. Confused? Depending on which paper you read, you get the completely opposite interpretation of the former president's interview. While Times of India quoted her as saying this,
"The general approached me, offering to put in his papers. I only told him that he was the chief of army staff and the responsibility on his shoulders was much more than any other office. I asked him to serve the nation till he retired."
The Indian Express decided to run with this instead. I've heard of spin. You've heard of spin. Spin is when you give a slight twist to the facts. This is a complete makeover. The great thing about festivals is that it brings everyone together. The strangest bedfellows. What a mix. And so it was with Tehelka's Think Fest, which saw the Taliban talking to a woman who didn't have her head covered, a talk by left-wing journalists being sponsored by DLF, and of course Adani Group being one of the key sponsors for Tehelka event. For those wondering what the big deal is, Adani is considered Team Modi and Tehelka is on the Bash Modi team. It's a bit like Priyanka Vadra sponsoring Ashok Khemka. Also, there was a session with Vijay Mallya. Enough said. Another thinker was present on Barkha's We the People program. And what he claimed here had even Barkha hooting.
Even Doordarshan says that Salman Khurshid is leading the delegation.
Well, I know Doordarshan has now, alas, been made independent of the government. So
we must agree with money for once. You don't need them when you have them. And money, you also have Karan. For those of you who didn't think that Karan Thapar had a soft side to him, and we don't mean Perty, should have tuned into his interview with Kapil Sibal. He's not always a devil's advocate. Sometimes he's quite the little pudding. You remember this?
Mr. Sibal, you're a very intelligent lawyer.
I'm afraid, Karan, I join issue with you on that.
But let's leave that aside.
I have lived in the United States of America, and I know that that's not correct.
That's an irrelevance.
That's a completely wrong. What you're saying is completely wrong because I have myself witnessed
You say so. I'm saying the opposite, but that's irrelevant. It's irrelevant to understand.
No, it's not. It's relevant.
Let's not get sidetracked.
The same logic is perhaps sought to be applied. That if exit polls can influence people on the West Coast, then surely opinion polls can also. No, they say it's the same thing.
Right. Let's accept for argument's sake, opinion polls do influence voters.
Now contrast that with this.
Why should you become suspicious and conclude that the delayed encashment means that the sale is sham? I put it to you that after you were transferred, you did not have the right any longer to exercise those powers. Likely is not proof.
The truth is to be established by looking at his account statement.
Until then, this is a supposition.
Yes, the inference. This is the probable inference.
Inference or supposition, let's not play with words. It's not a fact as yet. A criminal investigation is needed. None of that has happened.
Yes.
Therefore, if the sale is not a sham, the balance sheets are not false. So you're wrong on that as well.
No.
Is the Congress Party's distrust of opinion polls justified, or is it a terrible mistake?
What I want to ask is whether your questioning is justified, or is it a terrible mistake?
Let me just go back to 2004.
And unanimously, the political parties said that once the notification was issued, there should be no Despite that unanimous opinion of all political parties, there have been several polls held since 2004, and the government has not banned it. It requires an amendment of the representation of people.
Karan? Karan! Thapparji! Karan, did you just allow Sybil to speak uninterrupted for 2 minutes? How come? What's the story? What's the backstory? What's the inside story? What motivation did Karan have in not interrupting Kapil Sibal? We need a commission of inquiry.
It's not a question of agreement. It's the Congress party takes a position on foreign policy. Whether I agree with it or not, my discipline requires that I follow what the Congress party says.
Number two.
Don't consider it as a disagreement. Don't consider it as an agreement.
Karan. Here's a suggestion for a question. You could have asked him whether he agreed with the ordinance or not, since he reportedly wrote it. And then maybe, just maybe, you could have asked him if he agreed with Rahul tearing it up and rubbishing it or not. But why be pushy? This isn't the only moment, though.
There are several state polls which have gone wrong since.
And several that have gone right.
So therefore some polls may be scientific, some polls may not.
Scientific, non-scientific. The one where Congress is doing well are scientific. The others are all non-scientific. So why does he want to ban all of them? And then there's the pièce de résistance.
You have talked about the constitutionality of exit polls.
You're saying the same thing would apply here.
If the constitutionality is valid there, it could be valid here as well.
And both could be then challenged in court.
Both could be challenged.
And we'll only know the true position about constitutionality when it's challenged and when the court decides.
Ah, that must explain why the Congress party has overturned so many constitutional verdicts of the Supreme Court. But then it seems Karan's is not to question why. Karan's is but to do and cry.
Calm down a moment.
No, sorry.
Calm down a moment and let me...
You are your old self. You decide, you assured me that you have improved, but you have not.
And just to add a little fire to the Ambani family feud, the Economic Times decided to play Scrabble with some letters. A picture of Nita Ambani was identified as Tina Ambani. Jethani ko Devrani bana diya. Wah, Economic Times, wah. On November 13th, the Indian Express published a front-page story on former CBI Director Dr. A.P. Mukherjee's book, Unknown Facets of Rajiv Gandhi, Jyoti Basu and Indrajit Gupta. Mukherjee reported that Rajiv Gandhi told him that, in quotes, unscrupulous elements in the army and bureaucracy were collecting huge amounts of commission on defense purchases. He suggested that all payments to middlemen should be banned, but the commission to be given as a matter of routine practice by the arms suppliers could be pooled under the care of some non-government entity which could be utilized solely for the purpose of meeting inescapable expenses of the party. Close quote. This, Rajiv believed, would remove the quid pro quo relationship between unscrupulous businessmen, politicians and bureaucrats. Now, this story was a buzz in the capital during that time, but we had no proof of it. Today, it has been confirmed by a player who had direct interaction with Rajiv Gandhi that a Prime Minister of India decided to do away with middlemen in arms deals, get commissions from arms suppliers directly for party funds. Many questions should be raised on this, but not too many organizations, news organizations, print or television, have taken the story forward or given it the space it deserves. Recent firings of journalists Reed Siddharth Vardarajan and Hartosh Bal, have those been perceived as warning signals? Well, that's a wrap for the week. If you have any moments from journalism that made you go, oh wow, or oh crap, write into us or tweet to us. We are the change. You are the change, for better or worse. Never do nothing. Stay connected, stay online.